So here we are, working group step number 3. We've defined the group, we've figured out what the problem is, and we've picked one that we're going to focus in on. Now we have to get creative. Now we have to actually take this step of saying, all right, what is this going to look like for us to solve the problem? So the objective is pretty simple on this one, really, Bill, and that's to understand the potential solutions. As you've seen creativity happen in groups, what have you seen that's worked? What brings out that creativity, the solution that you might not just come up with on first glance? How does that happen?
Yeah, the beauty of this is that you've got a lot of different people sitting around the table, and they
Mm,
have a lot of different gifts, talents, and their organizations have different slots, if you will, that they can fulfill. And I think one of the best examples of this is the development of the sports ministries around the world over the last 10, 15 years, where the problem is that you've got sports, and sports isn't really used by the church. And they've come together, and in many, many cases, uh, from majority world and all over the world, they've brought together resources from different parts of the body to work on a solution to a specific problem. Now, for example, outreaches at major sporting events. Well, then different parts of the body come together for tracks, for Bibles that have sports themes, for videos, for testimonies of major athletes, etc., and make them available to the whole body. And then link that in with different organizations that are on the ground, who have the feet that are touching people. And so that's been a really effective way of focusing on a problem around, in this case, a major sporting event,
mhm.
and bringing the resources of the church together to focus on that problem.
And I love that. Even as you were talking, the creativity that in the variety of ways that
Mm-hmm.
they came to those solutions. That's
Sure.
exactly what we're talking about in this. So this session, or this meeting that we're sitting down now to have, we're at this phase. Restate the purpose statement.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we already talked last time about how important it is to give them that anchor, to
Right.
know what they're focused on, to give them a place to drill down, to really see that as their primary focus, and restate the problem. If we've defined the purpose statement, and then we've said this is the problem that we're going to address in order that we think is going to have the biggest impact for us
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to discuss the potential solutions, and then again, this narrowing, this
Right.
consensus.
Right.
What's the best of these possible solutions? Because there are so many different ones. Again, I think what you said in the last video was so important about don't diffuse,
Mm-hmm.
focus. When you
Mm-hmm.
focus, the energy level is so much higher. So, talk about some creativity as far as different ways to get people's energy going around this creativity, around these solutions. What have you experienced in different groups in those meetings that has drawn people out to say, oh, what about this? Or how could we do this better? What does
Right.
that look like?
Well, I mean, breaking into the smaller groups, so you have a group of three or four, maximum five people, depending upon how many you're, starting with,
Yeah.
to then really dig down and say, what really is the problem? We've identified the problem,
Mm-hmm.
but let's dissect that and pull
Mm-hmm.
that apart. And of course, again, people are approaching from different perspectives, so you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of hopefully innovative kind of ideas that would pop up. I think the key here is to just open it up. Make sure people know that they can step outside the box,
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay to think outside the box and to have a paradigm shift or whatever terminology you want to use that, and to look at things in the past or things that are going on in the context, in the community, in the environment in which you are working that you could possibly use.
Mm-hmm.
So, it all depends upon obviously the context and how creative the people are that are in that group.
Yeah, yeah. And so with that, a few other things, hypothetical questions, asking, what if money wasn't an issue?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
what if we had the most influential people
Sure.
in this area that were on board with us right
Yeah.
now? Beginning to think through some of those things, because unintentionally we do get caught in that box. Unintentionally we do
Mm-hmm.
get caught in this frame set. Well, why do I need to think about that? It's not
Right.
realistic. And yet in those moments is some of the greatest moments of
Mm-hmm.
creativity and
Mm-hmm.
of clarity. Case studies, I think, to get people thinking, to pull out a couple, just as you just did, or to provide, hey, another working group, this was their problem. These were the ideas that
Yeah.
they came up with. Um, in a different part of the world, in a different network
Mm-hmm.
completely,
Mm-hmm.
this was their problem. This is how they addressed it.
Right.
So important to do that. And then this idea of interview questions, of just, in essence, in front of the group saying, Bill, what do you think? How do you think this could be solved?
Mm-hmm.
What's your idea? So often it just takes that little spark, just takes that little
Yeah.
idea to get people going along with this. So important that there's creativity in that. Ending the session, back to this distilling process, back to this focusing from all the possible solutions. And again, you're going to have some great ones, some that are going to be out in left field, some
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be
Yeah.
way out there, unrealistic, others that are right in line. And how do you get this process of deciding what helps make that decision? What are some of the determining factors to saying this is the right solution that we should do right
Sure.
now? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, the prioritizing grid, or the flip charts we talked about before, of looking at the different action plans that people are dreaming up and then figuring out the one that looks like the best. That's number one. And what you have to really apply there is, well, what are the resources? We can't do this if the people who are thinking about it and saying this is what we should do don't have the capacity,
Yep.
don't have the capabilities, are not reliable, and are not trustworthy. So these are elements that you have to think through, and ask those hard questions about accountability and reliability,
Mm.
capacity. I mean, can this organization or this individual really do this, what they're saying, or is it just a pipe dream? So that's how you narrow it down then into something that can really become a reality.
Great. So in this session, the goal is to get people thinking outside the box, get them excited about possible solutions, and then spend some time together narrowing that, focusing that, and picking the one solution
Mm-hmm.
then that from our purpose statement to our problem, now to possible solutions, narrowing it to that one
Mm-hmm.
solution that we can really then attack.
Amen. Attack.